that the philosophies of Maududi or his contemporaries are correct, let alone actually commit acts of terror. Thus, the actual cure for the root cause of terrorism is that Muslims be educated in the true teachings of their own religion, and that Islam is restored to its original purity. To this, and how it will come to pass, I will revert later in the last part of my talk. For now, let us look at secondary solutions that we in the West can put into effect. And although this will not cure the disease of extremism completely, they will go a significant way to reducing the impetus that extremists have to target Western countries. Primarily, the West needs to stop its hegemony in seeking control, in the name of national interest, the politics and the resources of other countries. To a great extent, in a globalized economy, the concept of the nation-state has already been greatly eroded. What then should be the basis of international relations? The solution is simple and is ultimately the only solution that will be viable in a globalized economy: the principle of justice. This principle must be the basis for our foreign policy, and the double standards that Western nations exercise with impunity, including supporting their allies, regardless of the heinousness of their behavior, must come to an end. If international relations are continued to be conducted in an unjust manner, then this injustice will continue to incite enmity, and this enmity will continue to fan the flames of extremism. The Holy Quran states in chapter 5, verse 9, "O ye who believe, be steadfast in the cause of Allah, bearing witness in equity, and let not a people's enmity incite you to act otherwise than with justice. Be always just, that is nearer to righteousness. And fear Allah, surely Allah is well aware of what you do." Surely Allah is aware of what you do. Again in chapter 4, verse 136, it says, "O ye who believe, be strict in observing justice, and be witnesses for Allah, even though it be against yourselves or against parents and kindred. Whether he be rich or poor, Allah is more regardful of them both than you are. Therefore follow not low desires, so that you may be able to act equitably. And if you conceal the truth or evade it, then remember that Allah is well aware of what you do." In terms of Islamophobia, the behavior of the Western media towards Islam needs to change, and the same principle of justice must be applied. The regard that is held for the feelings of other faiths must also be held for those of Muslims. If books which deny the Holocaust or defame other religious leaders are stopped from print, then the same standards must be applied to books which purposefully pervert instances in the life of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and slander him, such as the book The Satanic Verses, written by Salman Rushdie. Making Muslims feel relentlessly attacked and insulted in the countries that they consider to be their homes, as is now the case with many French Muslims, is not only a sign of deep ignorance, but is seriously counterproductive in the fight against Muslim extremism. Once again, we in the West would do well to follow Quranic guidance, which indicates that a greater harmony will be achieved between people if they show due respect to each other's beliefs and holy personages. Chapter 6, verse 109 reads, "And revile not those whom they call beside Allah, lest they out of spite revile Allah in their ignorance. Thus unto every people have we caused their doing to seem fair. Then unto their Lord is their return, and he will inform them of what they used to do." Let me now conclude the first part of this talk. It should, by this stage, be clear to all members of the audience that Islam is not a religion of extremism, terror, or war. Indeed, the very word Islam actually means peace. The development of extremist doctrines in the Muslim world has occurred due to a degeneration in the understanding of the Holy Quran, and these doctrines are translated into acts of terror by ignorant Muslims who are disaffected with the behavior of the superpowers and desire to exact revenge. Secondary solutions to these problems are to be found in the principle of just and non-exploitative behavior on the part of our nations, in both foreign and domestic policy. In short, I would hope that it is evident to all that a true Muslim is a guarantor of the safety of others, and nothing in Islamic teachings necessitates a clash of civilizations with the West. Indeed, adherence to the principles of Islam by all would ultimately lead to the formation of a more civilized and peaceful world. Well, thus far in the talk, I have used arguments and facts that I hope are relatively incontrovertible. This, the final part of my talk, will go into greater detail with regard to the spiritual degeneration in Islam. And I will then describe how I personally believe the primary cure for extremism, that Muslims the world over are reformed and restored to a true understanding of Islam, is destined to take place. You will recall that the decline in Muslim spirituality was prophesied by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He made several such statements, one of which I have already mentioned earlier. And it is undeniable that this prophecy is an accurate picture of modern-day terrorists. He is reported to have said, "There will come a time upon the people when nothing will remain of Islam except its name, and nothing will remain of the Quran except its inscription. Their mosques will be splendidly furnished, but destitute of guidance. Their divines will be the worst people under the canopy of heaven. Strife will issue from them and avert to them." The Holy Prophet also foretold that at the time of the fulfillment of this prophecy, when Islam has reached its lowest ebb, God would send a Messiah, an anointed one, whom the Holy Prophet called Jesus, and a Mahdi, a guided one, who would restore the religion to its original standards. The majority of Muslims take these prophecies and interpret them in a literal fashion, to mean that Jesus Christ himself, having had his physical body raised up to God during the crucifixion, will return to the earth as the Messiah. They also believe that he will join another person raised among the Muslims, and who will have the title of the Mahdi, and together these two will extinguish all disbelief in the earth by force. This idea, known as the doctrine of the Bloody Messiah, is not confined to Muslims. In fact, it is shared by many of the world religions who are expecting similar such events with regards to their own prophets or deities. Because of its violent nature, the doctrine provides vindication for extremists to carry out acts of terror, since the expectation that they have of divine behavior is intrinsically bloodthirsty. This is the case with Christian extremists in the United States, Jewish extremists in Israel, Hindu BJP extremists in India, and Muslim extremists also. In reality, the adoption of this doctrine is a sign of the aforementioned corruption in religion, and as such it finds no support in the Holy Quran. In fact, the teachings of the Holy Quran categorically reject this doctrine as false. I would hope that you would know now that the Holy Quran forbids the use of compulsion in any matters pertaining to religion, and as such, it is inconceivable that God would, breaking with his own word, send to mankind a messenger who would act as a bloody Messiah, and instead of filling the earth with peace and submission to the divine will, would instead fill it with the blood of disbelievers. Moreover, the verses of the Holy Quran actually reject the idea that Jesus Christ could ever come back, since they claim that he, like all prophets who are only men, died a natural death. Chapter 5, verse 76 reads, "The Messiah, son of Mary, was only a messenger. Surely messengers like unto him had indeed passed away before him. And his mother was a truthful woman. They both used to eat food." If any doubt remained, the Holy Quran delivers a verse that bars the possibility of Jesus' return to the earth. Chapter 3, verse 145 reads, "And Muhammad is only a messenger. Verily all messengers have passed away before him. If then he die or be slain, will you turn back on your heels?" The accurate translation of this verse is as I have given it, that all messengers prior to Muhammad have passed away. Thus, if all messengers prior to Muhammad have passed away, and Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, was a messenger, it means that according to the Holy Quran, he too must have passed away. So how did such a doctrine enter into the beliefs of mainstream Islam? Two factors were involved. The first being the aforementioned decline in the Muslim understanding of Islam, and the second, very important factor, being mass conversions to Islam from Christianity during the growth of the Muslim Empire. Thus, the concept of a bloody Messiah gradually worked its way into the thinking of Muslims, with no real basis in the religion itself. As opposed to this majority belief, there is a group of Muslims, around 150 million across the world, who reject the doctrine of the bloody Messiah, and believe that the prophecies relating to the coming of the Messiah and the Mahdi of the latter days have to be understood in the context of the teachings of the Holy Quran. This group, known as the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, believes that the promise of a Messiah and a Mahdi, who would lead the world into a messianic age of peace, has already found its fulfillment in the person of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He was born in 1835 in the small Indian village and was of Persian